Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. One of my favorite guests is back from mysticalwares.net. Derek Condit is back. And you guys, I still get emails from you guys saying, where do you get your Shungite? You keep talking about Shungite. This is where I get it. This is the guy. Go back and listen to his other episodes too if you want to know anything about that. But he's so well versed in everything in the paranormal. So today I have picked out a couple of topics, but I think we're going to be all over the map. So Derek, how are you doing? And the new giant store?
Oh, I'm doing great, Karen. Thank you very much for having me back on. I appreciate it. Yeah. Mystical Wares is growing by leaps and bounds up here in Washington State. We're thrilled to, expand into the community too. So we're bringing lots of other people in and just sharing. So no, it's been awesome.
Now, I was there when you had the small store, which was gorgeous. And I remember Courage didn't want to leave, and Courage always wants to leave. He didn't want to go out the door. And then as we're leaving, I saw another dog go in, and I was like, the animals are just loving this vibe. So now I haven't been up for the new store yet, but the new store is huge, I think. Does it, or you're doing classes, people are doing lectures, right?
Yeah. So we've moved locations, and actually we were only at the small kind of, we refer to as like the shoebox because it was so small. In the old location, Mystical Wares 1.0, I jokingly call it. So we moved maybe 2 miles away into an old grocery store building. So 8,000 plus square feet where we can have some room to stretch our arms and do all kinds of things. Like you mentioned, like free classes that are in person, and we will try and record many of them for online viewing later for those that maybe aren't local. But yeah, we keep expanding things in the store, like salt therapy cabins, build your own orgone device and custom candles and live aura readings. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so I just wrote down the organ. That's one I want to talk about. Well, let's hit that. And I love, because is this where people, my friend made me some beautiful organite, right? Is it organite?
Yeah, it's called Orgonite devices.
And you, the people come and they make like, what is that? Like it's glue. I don't know. They make little pyramids and stuff. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it. So they're energy devices, and I can get there quickly. So scientists call that invisible energy around us orgone. So, and that's just one general term for it. So when you work with those energies in a 3D device, they're often called orgone devices or organites. And often you may see them, people have gone to different metaphysical fairs or shops online. Often they're made out of like clear resins with a bunch of pretty crystals and metals and different things in there. And they can vary widely, like a recipe can. But basically, it's a layering of organic materials, so different plants, herbs, spices, things like that, or rocks and minerals with intermingled layers of metal. And basically what it does is that layering of ingredients, we'll call it, moves that invisible energy that we call orgone. We also call it subtle energy. So for those energy workers or Reiki masters out there, those whooshes and those subtle energies around your bodies, those shivers and pulses, well, that's the orgone energy moving. So these devices are a way to actually move that invisible energy and use it to your benefit. And that the benefit would be depending on what ingredients you choose. So I'll give you a quick example, Karen. Let's say so if they came into Mystical Wares here and they wanted to make their own custom orgone device, we choose organic beeswax as the medium instead of a plastic resin. Mm-hmm. And that's due because these are all about, they're called frequency devices. So the ingredients, of course, matter like in any recipe. So if we have the ability, and so we opt for organic beeswax, and pretty much what you do is layer in we use little glass jars and containers, often with little corks on top. You'll make a layer of the wax, maybe a layer of different rocks and minerals, whatever your intuition leads you to. And then again, layers of different metals, be it copper or stainless steel or silver. And then what I was getting at as an example, let's say somebody maybe had, let's just say an inflammation issue here in 3D in their physical body, and you wanted to have an effect on that. Well, in these little energy devices, for that symptom of inflammation, you could actually put turmeric. And actually, I would suggest turmeric with black pepper because it is an anti-inflammatory. But remember, you don't need the turmeric in your body. You need the frequency. So if you make a layer of turmeric with black pepper in your orgone device, it will add that frequency to your environment, and you will benefit from that. So there's lots of things you can do with that.
Oh, that's interesting. We're 5 minutes in, and you already taught me something I didn't know. I didn't know that phrase. Like, a friend made me the beautiful, the resin triangle that I love, but I did not know that about the energy. Well, how about that? We're right off to a jump start right there. So people can come in and make these like at a class, or there's just a little section to do that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we've actually made a place, and I've shared some images on Facebook and Instagram and whatnot of the orgone station, and we actually bring out the little melting pots and melt the Shungite beeswax. And it's all organic, chemical-free beeswax. And then, you'll just sit there and make your little layers, and they'll harden, and they come out really attractive. You can put, we have organic essential oils, different scents and things you can put in there. And then I know we're on a radio show, so I wish I could share images, but just imagine taking a see-through glass so you can see the layers as you're doing this. And then as you get near the top, you can even stick little things in the top because, of course, the top layer is going to harden because it's a wax. Little crystals poking out, or maybe a little bundle of white sage, or we do little wooden love hearts, because everything's a frequency and your intentions matter. So you can do things like that with it. It literally is a little recipe of love where you can affect yourself and actually, again, have an effect on your intentions and energy with this device. So it's not just attractive, it's energetically, just a powerhouse because you're making it yourself.
That's been a big thing with me this year. And I think I apologize to everyone. I've said this 100 times on my podcast, but my guides told me to throw everything away. And I was like, what? And I looked, and none of my stuff in my apartment was mine. It was stuff people had given to me. And the more I get rid of it, because it's other people's frequency, the better I feel. In fact, I've been really drawn to gold lately. I've been, I don't know why, but that just feels like the right frequency right now. So that's fascinating. Now, you also, and people can buy these on Mystical Wares too. And your Facebook page, just so you know, everybody, join the Facebook page, because you're always putting up classes and video and all kinds of stuff that helps everyone.
Yeah, I'm all about, helping everybody, because it is a community effort. Us being here, we're all connected energetically, of course, and everybody listening to your show knows that. So, like attracts like in this universe. So if we emit love and understanding, well, guess what? We're going to get back. Right. So that's why, again, I keep mentioning community, because it's all of us. It's not a Derek thing. It's just love. And when you do these devices, they actually tap into that frequency, which makes sense, Karen, why you were saying maybe you were led to remove certain items from your environment. Well, you're becoming more of what you already are, so more of your higher self, and you're just ready to expand. So, there's lots of ways that manifest. So that's interesting that you have been led to do that.
Yeah. Do you think right now everyone's getting sort of an upgrade or something? Because the other thing is I can't wear wool. All of a sudden, things are very scratchy. Like my skin is ultra sensitive too. All of a sudden, all at once.
Yeah, you tapped into a couple things there. So I'll actually kind of go in reverse on the wool one. Wool is actually an orgone device in itself. Just the way it is, the way it's structured. So actually having wool around you will boost that orgone flow.
Oh, interesting.
And then as far as actually that's why people use, so I'll actually kind of back up. I'm going to build because we're organic beekeepers, and we've talked about that before. So you can actually build a beehive into an orgone device by layering the wood sides with wool and different metals and things, so that the whole beehive is a frequency transmitter. And bees, by the way, have a 0.1 hertz, it's called, frequency in their buzz. So it's not the actual buzzing of the bee, but the frequency beneath the sound is a healing one. The same thing as a cat's purr. It'll actually heal broken bones 4 times as fast as not.
Wow. And,
Mhm.
feel free to give everybody, I don't know if you can do it quickly, but it's been so long since we talked about the bees, is that where the bee colonies were collapsing. That first episode that I did with you, somebody called me from Pennsylvania. They sent it to the government, who sent it out to all the beekeepers, because this is really interesting. I don't know if you can recapsule that story for everyone, just as a review.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What we're talking about is what we kind of call the Shungite beehives. And I'll move quickly for those of you that have maybe heard some of this before, but Shungite is just a mineral that's found in Russia, up in Shunga, Russia. So actually Karelia, Russia, one spot on the planet. And Shungite has a unique ability due to an actual, and I'll try not to get too science here, but there's a certain molecule shape in it called a C60 molecule, or a buckyball, or a fullerene. It's the shape of a soccer ball. Well, in physics, that shape is one of many that are called sacred geometry or platonic solids. It's the shape that holds the energies of the universe that we live in. So knowing that, it actually helps on the 3D level of our reality. It helps us ground or earth. So think electron exchange when you're hugging a tree or bare feet in the sand or dirt. It all feels good, but what it actually is literally on the 3D level, an electron exchange. You're removing excess or heavy energies, so you're going to feel better. And yes, I'm talking about hugging a tree. You are absolutely going to feel fantastic. Yeah. So that's what it is, and Shungite helps you with that. And that's why I'm wearing a Shungite bracelet myself now. I have a piece in front of me. Just holding that stone removes whatever would be excess or overage energies for an individual. And that can vary person to person. So that's why Shungite's so great. It's not like you have to, somebody with brown hair has to hug a cedar tree, or blonde hair will. No, just find a tree and hug that thing, and you're going to feel better.
It's funny because I bought the Shungite beads from your place, and I have earrings I don't take out, and the beads are on the earrings, so it's on me all the time. And then I have another bracelet from you guys that I don't know why, but I more made it my my readings bracelet, so I put it on when I do readings, then I take it back off when I'm done. I don't know why. And I have necklaces, and Courage has his bead around his collar, so we are all Shungite beaded out over here.
Oh, no, that makes sense why you wear it during readings. And I do the exact same thing because everything's energy. You know that. And Shungite helps move the natural energies without pre-programming them. So just moving energy. Moving energy is always better than it's called door or dead orgone energy, the scientists call it. So it's like a stagnant pond. Of course, an aerated pond with moving water generates living energy, and then things can thrive in that environment. So same with you. When you're wearing that bracelet during a reading, you're just moving the various energy layers around your own body, just movement. And that's so you're basically able to focus a little bit better. And that's the same with the bees. When we integrate the Shungite and put little nuggets at the entrance of the beehive, or we integrate the Shungite powder into the paint and we paint the exterior of the beehive. And if you understand the terms, you can think Faraday cage in the military. It has an effect on frequencies. So the bees, not just bees, any living entity, plant, animal, human, in a Shungite environment will basically help heal themselves. So it's not that it's a magic black rock, and it is completely black for those that don't know, but it's more about an energy movement, and then you'll heal yourself. So it's a unique energy tool.
That's fantastic. And just a quick question past. Why do you think wool isn't working for me? Is it just not my frequency?
Oh, yeah, it's okay, so I can do the remote thing. We didn't talk much about that, so I can actually see your energies remotely. So I'm going to do that now. What your energy, your bioenergy, we call it aura, chi, prana, lots of names for this, but the energy close to your body is moving a lot quicker now. So you can say higher frequency, things like that. So when you're connecting to the etheric levels, you're tuning in HD radio. Well, wool and things like that are more kind of, think 3D or AM radio. So I would suggest not wearing wool and things like that when you're doing readings, or if you're using pendulums. And I'm talking to anybody out there, things like that. But if you want to connect and keep, again, that energy moving, then that's where it would be, again, the same as holding or hugging a tree, holding Shungite or different stones like that don't hold a frequency. So they're different than crystals, like a quartz crystal. You can pre-program, focus with your intention and feelings, and then have that crystal hold a frequency. Shungite will just continually move. So it's like stretching your legs out etherically for you.
That's amazing. And it's funny because I'm a big animal rights crazy. So the only wools that I have were either ones that were from before I was vegan. And then there's a wonderful, alpaca farm that makes things that's all good to their animals, but both of them, and it came out of nowhere. They both started to smell to me and they both itched. So, I find that so interesting. So the Shungite, I know I jumped way around, but I know you're used to me by now, Derek. You're like, it's Karen. We're going to be all over it.
I'm the same way.
And this helps the bees find their way home too.
Yeah, basically, again, so bees, fish, birds, many entities on this in this reality, I should say, actually perceive what we call energy layers, or ley lines, or things like that. And that's their navigation system. Think of it as their highways. So when bees are actually leaving their beehive and they're going out to the various fields and crops to pollinate and or bring back nectar and things to make honey with, well, because, and this is only one of the factors, but the frequencies of our environment now, the energies, the cell phone towers, not just 5G, but any of those energies from different transreceivers out there, including satellites, muck with those frequencies. So when bees leave and they're kind of looking at their map of where they're going, and by the way, a bee will travel up to 7 miles from its beehive to either get water or pollen or whatever they're looking for in that day, because there's different jobs. And that's a big distance. Imagine if you and I went 7 miles away in an unknown area, without street signs or something like that to guide us back. And that's what happens to bees. They get out there, the frequencies in our environment, man-made ones, disrupt the ley lines or energy lines, and they just get lost, don't make it home in time. So the bees basically are getting stuck in the fields, and they don't survive in the colder temperatures at night. And then when they don't return, it's called colony collapse disorder. When a beekeeper goes out and basically the hive is almost empty. And that's what happens is the bees go out, they don't make it back. So they're not in their colony to stay warm and generate that orgone flow. So then they perish out in the environment. And that's colony collapse disorder. And Shungite, so to bring it back around, what we do is at the entrance of the beehive, and I didn't know the bees were going to do this, Karen, initially several years ago when I first put Shungite, and I was guided by, guides.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. To put it out there, I'm thinking, well, I'm a pretty woohoo kind of guy. And, I've seen a lot of crazy things, but, let's see. Well, to even my shock, the bees started pouring out of the beehive, walking all over the Shungite, and then they would take off and do their flights and come back. Well, because I do perceive energies, long story short, what I saw, the bees were grounding themselves or earthing, removing excess energies so they could better focus and navigate and perceive their reality. So what they were doing was not getting lost. They would take the time, and I'm talking, so the entrance of a beehive, for those that don't know, is about 1.5 foot long entrance of about an inch tall, so they can come and go at any spot in there. Well, what I'm doing, and you can see this in very first video on shungitebeehives.com, I place the 3 nuggets at the entrance to the far right side of the hive. And again, the bees can come and go anywhere they want, and they typically do. There's not a set pattern until the Shungite's added. And what you'll see, and I'm a pretty big woohoo guy, as you know, Karen, but I did not convince those bees to pose for this video. But what the bees did, yeah, I know. You think so, no, but I'm not that good. The bees, 90+% go over to the Shungite, and they'll leave and so come and go from the beehive on the Shungite. Wow. And that's all on their own. Yeah, and there's not really a bigger energy being in the 3D than a bee. Just the way they work, they even fly in etheric because their body weight and the proportions and size, it's just science. They can't fly like they do. They actually kind of phase in and out and levitate, believe it or not, to a percentage. Wow. And that's just a bee thing. So yeah, that's what bees do. So they've had a huge result with basically helping colony collapse disorder when you add Shungite to their environment.
That's so fantastic. And I want to get to sacred geometry later, but I have another question in there, and I want to talk about, you have salt rooms. Tell me about those.
Oh, sure. Yeah. What we did, because I'm all about energy, of course, and everybody helping themselves and empowering themselves. So what we did was brought in, well, it looks like a heat or a sauna therapy chamber. So just think cedar room, maybe 6 foot by 6 foot or so with benches in there. But what we did was we brought in a halo generator. So we bring in pharmaceutical grade salt. So meaning a really refined salt with no harmful minerals in it that can often be found. And it's really micronized, so small. And then this machine will actually spin it around and aerosolize it. So basically you sit in this cabin and you have aerosolized or vaporized salt in the environment. And yes, you're breathing it in. And what it does on the 3D level, it actually gets in your lungs, and the salt will pull the mucus and different infections and things that are in your lungs out so you can remove them and then start healing yourself. But really, the whole magic that I love about it is because it actually, and that's why it ties into a salt bath. When you take a pink Himalayan salt bath or Epsom salt or Dead Sea salt. Yeah. Yeah. See, and it's not all about checking off the little box. I did my woohoo salt bath and now I'm more advanced. No, it's about doing your, what I jokingly call woohoo, or manifesting in that high salt environments, because it's actually about an electron exchange. So I'm going to tie physics and metaphysics together here because they don't actually separate.
Oh my God. You're blowing. Hang on one second. I'm going to take a break and come back because you're blowing my mind right now.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love this. And I just got 6 pounds of pink Himalayan salt delivered. Folks, we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, just a quick update. I will not be at Tin Pan Alley in Cape Cod, at least not in the beginning of June. So keep your fingers crossed that I can change that announcement, or maybe even next year you'll see me there. But right now, that date has been postponed. I am restarting my psychic stand-up show at Flappers the 4th Thursday of every month, which is very exciting. And also, if you're in the LA area, you can see me headlining there July 24th. I'll keep you updated on that. Other than that, you can go to my website, karenrontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com, and book a reading or check out my videos. And hey, don't be afraid to drop me an email. I love to hear from you guys. Maybe suggest a guest, maybe tell me your favorite guest, maybe tell me to shut up. Either way, karenrontowski.com. Let's get back to the podcast. Okay, Derek, I tell all my clients, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I tell them all to get that salt in there, whether it's a salt scrub if you shower and a salt if you're in a bath. And I always thought that, I always say it kind of scrubs your energy clean. It kind of scrubs everybody else off you. But you were saying it's a great manifesting energy time?
Oh, yeah. Because actually, and that's a great environment. So when I say environment, I mean a high salt environment. And by the way, it can be a bath or shower. So I have an older house out where I live, and believe it or not, it doesn't even have a bathtub, just a shower. So here's a fix if you're in that predicament or situation. Just, turn on the water, get wet, and then put your salt, whatever type it is you're led to, on, a sponge or whatnot. Just get it around your body and then turn off the water, because you don't want it to come off right away. And yes, your skin will benefit from the salt and things like that. But on the whole woohoo levels, as I jokingly call it, the metaphysical realms, it's about that electron exchange. It's actually the same thing we talked about earlier with hugging a tree or grounding or earthing. It's moving or removing excess energies that might not be in alignment with you. And as you mentioned, that can be other people's energies. So if we're not, if we don't have the understanding as individuals to maybe armor ourselves during the day, and we can get into that later, not protect ourselves, but armor ourselves. Big difference there.
Which is written here on the list, and I didn't tell you. We are getting to that. Okay.
Good. Yep. I figured I'd just kind of skip the skirt over that real quickly. But yeah, it is about that electron exchange. So what I'm saying is, when you're in that salt environment, because the energy, and I'm throwing up some little air quotes here, the chi, the prana, your aura, however you want to term it, that energy is moving. Your imagination is and feelings, scientists will tell you, is 90% of this universe. Well, I would work with 90% of this universe, which is your, again, imagination and feelings, and have an effect. So in that high electron environment of the salt, close your eyes, imagine your different manifesting, and we can get more into that later on, suggestions on how to boost that maybe. But that's where I would try and manifest or feel and know whatever changes you want to have an effect on. That can be physical, that can be bringing something to you. But that energy movement is, so again, the salt baths are not about checking off that list of, oh, I did my meditation, I ate my living water or drank my living water, I did the salt bath. Again, it's doing the right metaphysical work in that environment where you really benefit and get a boost.
And I'm making a note because actually there is Shungite in every bowl of water, everything. It's in the bottom of my Berkey water cleanser. So we'll talk about, we won't forget that Shungite in the water. This is I love the way you described your salt sauna room. And I had a friend, first of all, she was so kind and she got me I think it was an hour in a salt, they call it a salt cave. It's a room that's all built of pink Himalayan salt. And it was so great. This was in Pennsylvania. And then I was on the road and I went to a different one and I can't remember where it was, but I also don't want to say that. And it was Himalayan salt on the side of the wall and it was on the floor. And I brought a friend and this time was not only wasn't it peaceful, I thought there were elementals jumping on me the whole time. And my friend came out and she was like, I thought something was in there. And I wondered if they offended, like instead of just taking salt, they pulled apart a salt cave, a real salt cave. And I think they had some things join it that were not okay with that going out. Does that sound too crazy?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, there's actually something a whole lot more to that as well. So, and I didn't actually finish because I go about 100 miles an hour, as everybody's noticing on the
I'm
show.
So sorry.
No. I was saying, yeah, so I usually get off track and didn't finish. But, and that's what I'm meaning. So on our salt cave, and this ties into what you were just saying, or our salt cabin, it's not just salt, the air or the vaporized salt. We actually have frequencies going in there. So light therapy as well. We have sound therapy, which is the frequencies. And then here's the add-on. It's also a Shungite cave. So buried where you can't quite see it under the seats and everywhere else, I've taken Shungite tiles and layered it. So Shungite rooms or healing caves, as they call them, will actually help you promote your physical healing and energy. But physical healing, again, hundreds of times faster. They use it in Russia. They'll line whole walls, just like you're saying with the pink salt. And we do similar. But here's what's missing from that second salt cave or room that you were talking about. And that's why, again, I was talking about Shungite in this same salt environment. Yes, the salt moves the energies and makes it an easier environment for etheric entities to be in due to the electrons. But I would suggest, like we did, putting Shungite in there because Shungite removes excess and overage energies. And what I mean by that, because that can vary per person. So excess and overage, it'll basically, again, like a tree, anything like overflowing your cup energetically or not in alignment with you cannot be in that Shungite environment. So that's why I brought in these dozens of Shungite tiles in the salt environment. So if we're going to be moving a lot of energy, well, you don't want just anything jumping in that energy. You want it what's best for you. So that's why, again, we integrate the Shungite as well. So yes, you had some entities in there because they could, and not all of them necessarily came from the cave, but because there is so much salt in that salt environment you were talking about at that store or that place you went. Yeah. They'll just come out of call it the ethers, organ, in the environment. So it would draw things because, long story short, they can hold a larger portion of themselves. I'm just talking about entities in general in a high salt environment or a high electron environment, meaning like near a waterfall, near streams, creeks, because they have that moving energy. And that's where they kind of hold form.
Wow.
I hope that made some sense.
It made total sense to me because I remember, I can still sort of in my mind, because I didn't physically see it, but in my mind, I saw the face of the thing that was standing on me and it was kind of jumping up and down. And I was like, maybe it was something, like you said, that came through or somebody left something in there. It was very strange because the first time I did it in Pennsylvania, it was great. And then it got kind of weird. This is a weird segue question. how can a person tell if they live near a ley line? Because I have a corner next to my house that is with so many accidents just on that corner, so many weird people walking by. Is there any way, a map or anything I can look up to know if that's a ley line?
There are different maps to show those things, but to be totally honest, the what we call ley lines and energy lines move and they're malleable. So the highest energy in the room, kind of like if you're in a room with a bunch of friends or something, the biggest personality or energy in the room kind of holds the room. So those things can be manipulated, and there's a whole other story behind that with the governments and this, that, and the other stuff happening. But yes, there are ways to know, to answer your question. Intuition's one, and then there are tools for those of you that maybe, don't work just with intuition, but want some more tangible. And that's, think of pendulum, things like that, or dowsing rods, copper. And if somebody is led to use remember, just a tool, a pendulum that is, or dowsing rods, I would suggest holding it about the level of the heart chakra level, because everything's energy. And often on these pendulums, and for those that don't know, just think heavy object hung from a string or something like that. Really anything can work for that. But we're often using these type of tools down near the tabletop, down near your, what's called a root chakra. Well, those are lower energies or frequencies. So again, just a little add-on, I'd suggest maybe bring in the pendulum part itself, the heavy weight on the end, about in line with your heart chakra, and then just have the intention, I want to connect through the heart. And I'm only mentioning this so that your accuracy, whomever is using this tool, they're connecting to themselves and not some, let's just say there can be mischievous information outside of yourself. So that's why I always suggest looking within yourself rather than outside. And that's how you can find these ley lines. Just ask.
Oh, that's great. And what a great tip with the pendulum, because I think I hold mine up that way, but sometimes I see people struggling with them. I bet that's the key. Okay. This is probably a huge question, but what you have the pyramids in that people can come and sit in the metal pyramids in your store. And I see all the pictures. I know nothing about this. Start wherever you please.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And what she's actually talking about is we brought, and I actually built some 6.5 foot tall copper pyramids in Mystical Wares that since I built them, I've decided they are staying free for public use forever, because they can be kind of pricey to do and kind of out of reach. So I thought, well, the heck with that. It's community. So these suckers are going to stay free. Wow. So what you do in them is you can come to Mystical Wares, and I can't keep the animals out of it, by the way. So I'll kind of back up. Copper moves orgone energy. So we were talking orgone energy devices earlier, and that's the energy around us that we've been talking. Well, what it does is copper will make channels, or think lines or lanes for energy to move. And a pyramid shape ties back into sacred geometry that we'll get back into later as well. Mm-hmm. But it's one of the shapes of the universe that energies tend to benefit from. And by the way, the hexagon shape, the little 6-sided thing, which is also the molecular shape within Shungite. And by the way, it's the shape of a honeycomb cell of bees. Bees don't waste time. Bees are not random individuals. When they make their honeycomb and the honey is stored in there, it's in a little hexagon cone. And there's a reason for that. And the same with the pyramid. Orgone energy moves along those lines and structures or aligns for itself. So when a person sits in a copper pyramid like we're talking about, the energy around them, their own energy, just the orgone energy and their living energy, their aura, chi, prana, that energy, again, however you want to describe it, will structurally align to that person. So it's the same thing as grounding or clearing. And then I mentioned earlier, Karen, too, that your imagination and feelings are 90% of this universe. And that's what the big brained boys, the scientists will tell you, the physicists. And it is. So what I suggest when you're in these high energy environments, again, not just the salt bath, but now we're talking pyramids, use your imagination and feelings to imagine yourself already healed, or not healing, by the way, because often energy workers and Reiki masters and different energy people like that are taught for healing with an ING. I would suggest that you get to healed because you want to program your energy body for the end result. And that's not perpetual healing. You want to be healed. So long story short, If you sit in the pyramids, just calm down, relax, imagine yourself healed, or if you're in there for, let's say, chakra activation or enlightenment or whatever you're wanting to do, and then generate a feeling around your heart chakra, any feeling. Love is, of course, a positive one. So if you use your imagination, generate a feeling in that environment, well, guess what you're going to be and become more of? What you thought and imagined. And that's how energy works in this universe. Thoughts and feelings, and then get to the end result. Never ing. You want to be healed, or you want to be more of your higher self, things like that.
Wow. And I bet, that, like I said in the beginning, Courage did not want to leave your store. I bet he'd sit under that thing and just go to sleep, and then no one could use it.
Oh yeah, and I've got pictures, because you had mentioned pictures about the pyramids we've shared, and I've put all kinds of different things, like little crystal skulls we've got in here, the cats and dogs, you name it, and they're all just drawn in there because they feel the energy, even though you don't see it. Of course, most energy is invisible, so you use your imagination and feelings to have an effect.
I'm so all of a sudden drawn to gold, and I believe my guides told me you got to get gold on you. So I'm which is actually real expensive right now. So I'm staying with smaller amounts. But is gold a different energy, or is it just that my guides were like, this is your vibration to move energy is gold?
It would be for you to pick up additional frequency. So think about energies around you, kind of like songs on a playlist. Well, what their suggestion is, maybe get some of these higher frequency songs or energies in your environment. Now, on the contrary, silver would be of course, it's made into colloidal silver and different things like that. You can drink and put on burns. And we use it with Shungite, where silver adds a physical healing and also antibacterial, antimicrobial properties, things like that. So it removes excess and overage, where gold will give you, if you're of the right mindset and you need those frequencies, it'll restore some of the base frequencies that we tend to lose or forget about. So there's reasons we're led to, of course, like your guys are helping you get towards gold. Some others, well, I just need to hold malachite, and that's just a certain green stone or something, or this stone or Shungite. It's all frequency. It's an energy that you're lacking or needing, which is why the same thing, maybe a dog drinks out of a puddle, it's needing a certain mineral or something. And often it's an energy, not the actual 3D mineral. We're just led or drawn intuitively to bring it in. So that's what's going on with gold. It's an all-encompassing, I'd say a base one. And that's meant in a good way, by the way.
Like a grounding. It's so like my guides to pick the most expensive metal. It is just so like them. Okay, so now I'm only going to pick two more topics. I'm not going to write. Every time you say one thing, I write down another question. But we're just going to go with the last two, because I know we can fill up this whole podcast. What is a short overview of sacred geometry?
Okay, sure. And I actually like to describe that a little different than others. So I know we touched on that a little bit, but sacred geometry are just, so when we visualize them, they're shapes. But I want people to think not just a 2D shape like a drawing on a piece of paper. Think more of a 3D shape, something tangible with depth to it in our level of reality. So when I say, like one of the shapes that I like to use is that it's called on the molecular or science realms, a C60 molecule, or a buckyball fullerene. Again, it's that shape, that soccer ball shape molecularly that is in Shungite. And and I'm just using that as one example, that little soccer ball shape actually holds one water molecule perfectly. And scientists figured this out, and with no room for anything else. And a little add on there's no mistakes energetically. So that wasn't a just by chance sort of thing. And then we all know that crystalline structures are programmable. At least anybody listening to your show will. And that can be water. And of course, individuals are built to, depending on how dehydrated we are, different percentages of water. And so is our environment. So what I'm getting at here is, if you, again, back to the imagination and feelings, that's 90% of our reality. So I would suggest working within that often and as much as possible. And yes, I said imagination. Mm-hmm. So imagining these shapes, that soccer ball shape, and if you imagine yourself let's say, inside of that C60 molecule, what you're doing with your imagination and intentions is choosing to affect that energy environment around you. And the scientists will say, oh, you're doing quantum entanglement, all kinds of big, crazy words like that. No, you can get all fancy like that. Or you can just say you're working with love. Yeah, I prefer we're working with love and energy. So that's a way to actually have an effect on our environment, because our environment is more than 3D, of course, and we all know that. So using your imagination in the invisible environments by using these shapes and then putting yourself in there, they hold form. So just like that pyramid I was talking, imagine yourself. So you don't have to have a $1,000 copper pyramid in your bedroom. No, sit down, calm down, use your imagination. Imagine this pyramid around you, or if you're led to a C60 molecule, that soccer ball shape, and then generate a feeling and imagine what you want as far as, if you want a physical manifestation, maybe you have a tummy ache. Imagine yourself without that tummy ache, things like that. So what these shapes do, tying it back to sacred geometry, is they hold energy. So I also like to explain it this way. Here in 3D, Karen, water is one form of energy. And let's say you needed some energy, and I take this glass of water I'm sitting here drinking from, and I kind of toss the water at you without giving it to you in that cup or container. Well, you got some of the energy. I got it all over you. You probably got a little mad at me because I got you wet. Yeah, well, and I like to make fun of it, but doesn't that energy work a whole heck of a lot better if I give it to you in a container? Mm-hmm. And that's, in this case, a cup or a water pitcher. Well, with orgone or love energy, it works so yes, Reiki masters can open their hand and fling energies at people, and it's legit. People will feel that energy, but it's like taking that glass of water and tossing it. So someone like me that perceives frequencies, that can see these energies, I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute. If you imagine a container, one of them, remember, is that C60 molecule or pyramid, and then generate that welling up sensation around your heart chakras, that love feeling, imagine it in there. Now that will last about 24 hours. So again, imagine the shape, put what you want in it to manifest. That's a better you or a healed you or whatever. If you're looking for a new car, imagine the best car for you. Don't go too OCD on that. Because what I'm saying is, if we do, because often we're taught, hey, if you want a car, imagine the exact car you want with this, that, and the other. Well, I would suggest imagining the best car for you now and leave it that vague. Yeah, don't go OCD on it. Be vague so that, well, if somebody's going to gift you a car, maybe it's a couple years old and not blue if you wanted blue, but you're still open to it. So be vague, not too OCD on your manifesting, and what's in alignment with you will come. Because if you've reached the stage in this reality to even listen to our talk right now and have the understanding that feelings and imagination matter, well, then you're reaching the level in this reality to become more of your higher self. So now you can manifest. Use your imagination, think of the shape, what you want in it, and release it into the universe. And then what I was going to say is that shape or container lasts about 24 hours. So every morning when I wake up, I just think zip file and I go armor. And I just say in my head, so nobody thinks I'm crazy. And of course, you're not crazy for using your imagination. Yeah. I just say armor. And then for me, that entails that little soccer ball of love that I kind of corny call it, expands from because we don't live in that cholesterol sac we call a brain. We actually live in a donut or a toroidal field around our hearts. So that's where you would want to imagine that soccer ball coming from and expanding around you, and then you're inside of it. So that way, it's kind of like jumping in bed before changing clothes. You didn't accomplish much. You got your dirty clothes in the bed. Well, if this little soccer ball of love is inside your heart field and then you expand it out, it's removing excess and overage. And that's one way to actually manifest.
And I have one, when we come back, because I also wrote something down here. I have a question about manifesting. We'll be right back. I'll hit you with that there. Okay, here we go.
Psychic teas, spelled with a Z, are scrumptious herbal combinations with antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. Without sugar or caffeine, psychic teas won't mess with any medications and are designed by a naturopathic doctor. Many testify to positive results salts, detox chakras, and psychic tea blends enable bodily functions with superior efficacy, while more love and champagne blends support awareness of subtle joy and bliss. The CBD's teas are magical with myriad healing effects. There are 20 servings per package. A little dabble do ya, and you can drink it hot or cold. Psychic teas taste so good. Replace coffee, use as a bedtime ritual, or even flavor a meal or dessert. The people behind the product are righteous and kind. Psychic teas will blow your mind. Totally worth the investment. Psychic Teas with a Z.com.
Okay, so we see the little soccer ball in our heart, clean, coming out with love, and it covers us, and that's our armor for the day. Now, when which I'm sure that I oversimplified that. Quick question. So if I get up every morning and I do the same manifestation with that, is that overdoing it, or what is there about letting it go and having it come back to you?
There's no overdoing it because it's all your intentions anyway. So just, have the right intentions. Yeah. And actually, I don't want to limit your imagination because we're working about imagination tools and it's all real. So if during the day, because remember I said it lasts about 24 hours, but don't let me limit you. So if during the day, let's say somebody's at work and the boss, man or woman, is giving them some attitude and there's just negative energy or excess energy around you, well, re-armor yourself. I didn't limit you. You don't have just one soccer ball in your imagination. Do it all day long. And then also, I didn't imagine or limit the size. So your car fits in there. Your house fits in there. So if you want to affect the environment around your home, or you're going out to dinner with some friends, I would take the time, imagine the restaurant in that soccer ball of love and everything just happy, a positive, loving environment. The food fantastic. Well, what you did via quantum entanglement is affect the energy in that place. And guess what you're going to get? A more happy environment, and everybody benefits. So use your imagination and just do it multiple times. There's no such thing as excess love. Can you be over loved? And I already know the answer to that. No, because all I'm talking about is love energy.
Right. I always think, and maybe I'm wrong on this, when someone is like and maybe this is a little more magic stuff, like witchcraft and stuff, when people are, say somebody's like, I want a mate, I want a lover. It's like the vision boards. I was always told vision boards can keep you stuck because it keeps you in wanting instead of being. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it makes total sense. And that's what I was saying. Just on the manifesting. So let's say somebody's looking for a significant other. So let's say I'm looking for a new boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. I would use the same, because I want to work with energy. So I would imagine the same shape, that soccer ball shape. And I'd go as far as to think on those little hexagon and pentagon segments that actually make up a soccer ball shape. Just think silver mirrors on the inside and out. And silver mirrors, just love. Only what's best for you or in alignment with you will pass through that. So long story short, if you're standing in this soccer ball of love, only energy coming and going is what's in alignment with the individual inside. And by the way, I said what's best for you or excess. So meaning I'm not choosing the frequencies, going with colors and numbers and acting like I know it all. No, I'm just saying I only want what's in alignment with me now. And that will vary from person to person from time to time. Mm-hmm. That way you didn't get stuck in thinking, oh, I need frequency, blah, 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 or whatever. No, be more vague. And then if you're looking for, let's say, again, a significant other, I'd bring it back to that whole card manifesting thing. Don't go OCD. I would imagine. So let's say I'm looking for a female counterpart or something. I'd say, well, I imagine the person that's most in alignment with me, and don't think. So if somebody's led to, let's say, blonde hair and green eyes and whatever height, don't do that. Again, the individual most in alignment with me, and then see yourself with them. And then you're opening up your options that way by not going so OCD on the specifics. Because there's always, go ahead.
Yeah, there's something else I always say in that, like when someone wants a person, they say, I want that person, I say, don't manifest that person, manifest the feeling you think you would have with that person.
That's great. Work on yourself. So like attracts like we mentioned earlier. So once you work on yourself and you're right and in love, I didn't say in love with somebody else, but just in the state of love, a frequency, well, guess what's going to come towards you? That individual most in alignment with you. And that's exactly how it happens.
And because I had a reading with you that was fantastic. I think that could have been 2 years ago. So the armor, when we put this armor around us, you consider that also as like protection, like energetic protection, I would assume. Sure, right?
Yeah, and actually, so I'll give you a little add-on to that. So actually, if we think of the word, so often metaphysical teachers out there or counselors or whatever they want to call themselves, they'll say, there's a lot out there. You need to be etherically protected. Well, I'm going to kind of give you a little expansion on that. So if you think protection, and I wish you could see me, but it emanates the feeling. Remember, feelings matter, of course. The feeling of, well, maybe there's something out there and I'm not sure what that can harm me, so I want to be protected. Well, if we actually change that word protection to armor, that I'm armored now, not protected, it's a whole different feeling. Think I'm armored, I'm Iron Man, I'm Wonder Woman, something like that. That feeling is an empowerment feeling. People's auras actually, and I can actually see their aura regenerate and become more structured or strong etherically when they empower themselves. So I actually suggest for people never to etherically protect themselves. Armor yourselves. You know that you're tough. You're coming from a state of strength, and then that'll really affect your aura. And then that's when we really empower you on the etheric levels.
That's interesting because since you told me that in my reading, and there's two things that I always see visually when I'm sort of in this place is I always saw, especially a metal chest plate, and I also see wings behind me, and the wings are not to fly, they're to keep stuff off. So, I guess that's my weird armor, but I love that when people, because there's an awful lot of, I think two things happen. There's an awful lot of empaths out there, and I feel like the ones that aren't in tune or they're getting hit harder right now. I feel like my clients are really, as empaths, are really picking up a lot. So this idea of armor, that's what you would tell them?
That's exactly what they do. And I'm similar energetically as what we call empaths and things like that. I am one too. Think active heart chakra, that welling up sensation, lots of energies, and energy can stick to you. Well, that's why if you take the time, and again, it lasts about a day. And when I wake up, I just say to myself, I'm armored. And then, yes, it takes 1 second. It's not a big meditation moment. The quantum entanglement happens instantly. So long story short, you're standing in that soccer ball of love, and only what's in alignment with you will get to you. So yes, in essence, you're doing what I kind of jokingly call etheric hygiene. So we all take physical showers or baths probably every day for the 3D stuff. Well, remember, 90% of this universe stuff is invisible. It's energies, it's feelings, it's thought forms. I'd start suggesting people play a little more in those realms and armor yourself. And again, the silver mirrors in your imagination on this soccer ball of love, and call it whatever you want. The name doesn't matter. Only what's in alignment with you. So now you will better be able to go in environments. I don't care if it's a grocery store or a party with friends, to where those anxious energies or excess ones don't stick to you as much. So just using these armoring tools will make a massive difference.
Wow. Do you feel, well, I think everyone does. This is a big general question, but what's coming up for us? I feel like we are, the Earth probably, but we'll say the United States right now is in such a transition. And it's really interesting. I love that your store's doing so well, which I know the little one was too, but it almost is a reflection in this strange time. What people, which I love, people are reaching out for. They're reaching out for the other answers, not the prescriptions, not the this and that. They're reaching out to other things to stay positive. What do you think the United States, do you have any sort of overview predictions? Because I always go negative with predictions, and I bet you have some positive ones or some positive advice for people right now.
Yeah, I do. And actually, as you mentioned, the United States, not just the U.S., but really anywhere on Earth right now, what's happening is, I guess for those that can visualize that donut shape, the torus or toroidal shape, kind of like a donut with a hole in it, and energies move up and kind of down the chute. Well, everything cycles. So our reality is actually in multiple cycles right now, and we're kind of speeding up, going down. If you can visualize that donut shape coming over the top, down the middle of it. And you can also kind of tie that into Kundalini as well, and chakra energy is moving. So it's a active environment. We have access to a lot more frequencies and energies now, which is also why, and I'll just term it this way, the ones who think they're in control out there, and there's lots of names for them, are mucking with us so much on vaccines, on chemicals, on frequencies, on cell phone energies, or blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff. They're trying to limit us from becoming more of what we already are. Because if we do that, if we become aware, well, guess who's not in charge anymore? So there's always a push and pull. We're in a school. It's an environment for learning. So if we didn't have these lessons, we wouldn't be nudged to progress or become more of what we already are. You need nothing from the outside. Everything we need is in our hearts. So that's it. We're just being tested. And that's why some of us are talking about these armors and ways to expand. And again, not perpetual healing, but get to the end result, and using terms like that. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm actually excited about it because of all these lessons. And that's why I'm saying, hey, here's a tip and trick, and then give me yours as well, because we're all learning, and we should all be sharing. And as far as in the U.S., well, there's nothing set in concrete. So when we talk, I'll throw up some air quotes again, predictions, or if I look at the energies that we're all as a group heading towards, well, there's no set outcome or path. It's malleable. So we're choosing as a collective. And right now, I'm actually kind of happy because we're getting so worked up with these 3D dramas that many of us are being pushed to realize there's more, and that a lot of that stuff on that TV, the distraction box, is BS, and we're not listening to it. We're shutting it off. So I'm actually excited and hopeful and positive because I see the different people coming into Mystical Wares they're saying, I'm just tired of the drama, the politics, the virus thing, that now we have to wear 2 masks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's right. Now you're experiencing, you're realizing. It's like once bitten, twice shy. They're getting burned and they're going, well, wait a minute, there's got to be more. So I'm actually excited.
I think that, this is one of my predictions for the year. I see trouble for Monsanto, and this is very interesting. They just did a study, and they found out men are their penis size of the kids being born now, and like the sexual drive, all that kind of stuff, of the chemicals in what we're eating that's not supposed to be there, from, like I said, the Monsantos and the processed food are really showing their effect. And pardon the joke, but I was like, once they go after men's penises, it's going to end. That's where they're going to draw the line. It was a little sexist joke, but I was like, there it is. Now we've got to fix it. So I think people are being drawn to grow their own food and just be more in that frequency. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, you actually hit it, the nail right in the head there. So actually, when you're talking about Monsanto and all that, so of course, they're the proprietor of Roundup, which is called glyphosate. And then let me tie that back into Shungite. The scientific studies have already been done, and scientists, not just me in my backyard, are spreading Shungite powder in their fields and crops and regenerating them, meaning reverting them from, it removes glyphosate, Shungite powder does, and rad particles, which are radiation, free radicals, the precursor to cancer. So Shungite's one of many miraculous tools we have access to. And yes, Monsanto and Bayer, a sister business there, are all going to be kind of pushed to the sidelines. But again, there's always going to be another lesson for us to learn from out there, so that we're pushed or nudged to find these energetic tools like Shungite. So people actually think, well, that field has been damaged with glyphosate. It's done for 1,000 years. No, it's not. I'm telling you right now, spread Shungite powder on there. It will neutralize those. And this is scientific studies. And we've republished these on our website as well, even where scientists and doctors have fed Shungite powder to rats and tripled their lifespan. Rats die of cancer. Yeah.
You send me that Shungite powder, and I have bags of it everywhere, and I have the big jar. And you just reminded me, I have to start eating that again, because I did put it in my plants. I had to give away some plants because my plant corner is enormous. Enormous.
Yeah, Shungite has a huge effect on them. Yeah, it does. It moves those energies. So when we found that out by mistake. Maureen, my wife, actually put some Shungite powder because we rinsed off some nuggets and just don't want to waste anything. So we dumped the water in a flower pot on our front porch. with the sister pot of flowers on the other side that just didn't get that water. And all of a sudden that plant doubled in size in the next week. And we're like, what the heck? And that was the only difference we did. And then it kind of snowballed from there on many uses, and others did the same thing. Now the powders, it's really good for plants, and you don't want to sit there, and you didn't say it this way, but eating spoonfuls of it. So that's why we add a small amount of shungite powder to shungite honey and different things like that. And because the C60 molecules are in shungite. So there's lots of uses. The powder can be used in paint as well. As I mentioned beehives, but think if somebody's an energy worker or your bedroom, you don't want harmful frequencies in there. You can use it as a primer paint before you paint your room or walls or something.
I love that. And I have a bottle of nail polish that I put it in. So I paint nail polish on things. I remember you were saying, especially for like earbuds and things like that, that are kind of electronically close to you. And I have to make this announcement to everyone. And this is not just because Derek is my friend, because I love his shungite, but you want to either email him or buy from him, which also your prices are amazing, great. But there was that one person that emailed me through through YouTube that had bought it somewhere else. I don't know if it was Amazon or she was in England or something. And she said, it's turning my water brown. Should this turn water brown? And I emailed you and you were like, no, that's not shungite. So if you're going to, ingest it or buy it, Derek, you're my guy, because there's a lot of stuff, especially when you buy it on Amazon, that comes out of China that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately in China, they've actually found a spot so shungite is called shungite because it comes from Shungite, Russia, hence the name. So there are other deposits on the planet that are similar looking minerals with a smaller amount of C60 molecules, but there's other precursor minerals and things, add-ons, and often pyrites and stuff in there. So you do want to get the legit shungite just for the purity value of it and less toxins. And then if you get a piece and you're led to put it in your water, make sure there's not pyrites. And then actually, I don't know, Karen, if you know, but we make what are called shungite water beads now, where we'll take 3 10-millimeter shungite beads and then wind pure silver wire. And the number 3 is not lost on me for many reasons. So we wind 3 beads together with pure silver wire, and those go in your water. So now you have the additional benefit of silver, which removes harmful bacteria, viruses, all sorts of things. And then the 3 number, of course, that's a whole nother show. But energetically, it just structured the water, and they call it living water.
I love that. And I am big on, I've got a Berkey. I finally got my Berkey. Well, I had it for like a year now, which is, it's a great water filtration. So it's also good to put the shungite in, and then you got to get your own kind of electrolytes and stuff. But to get the fluoride and the gunk out of the water was so important to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I got to remove all kinds of things. Like I said, even rad particles, radiation, the glyphosate. So yes, even in your city waters, often and almost always, by the way, there is glyphosate, Roundup weed killer, being found in at least trace amounts, and any amounts wrong, in your water. So that's why it's a great idea to have shungite and or shungite water beads in there. And the filters you're talking about, the Berkeys and others, you can just take the shungite water beads, put it in the bottom of the pitcher. So as your water pitcher filters, it's sitting now structuring it as shungite water. And again, it's called living water. So and I'll go quickly, but if you add shungite to your water, it molecularly aligns the water to you. So when you drink that glass of water, your body sees it as water on the molecular level, and you absorb, and this is science, about 90% of it, and then you excrete 10. If you don't take the time, you will drink the water and you'll excrete 90% and maybe keep 10. Well, welcome to America, where most of us are dehydrated because it's not living water.
And one last thing I have to tell you is, and then you're one of those people too that I always feel like, don't text him 1,000 questions, because at one point I was like, can I put lemon in my shungite water? And you were like, yes, anything but no alcohol. So it's like no shungite margaritas, right?
Yeah, because Shungite works on the energy levels. It only keeps energies that are biocompatible with you. So you can guess what I'm saying there about alcohol. And that doesn't mean alcohol is you're going to drop dead if you have a beer or a glass of wine or something, but it will affect the alcohol and actually remove the effects of the alcohol from you. So yes, if you drop Shungite water beads or Shungite nuggets in your wine, your beer or whatever, well, you're not going to get drunk, that's for sure. So I hope you just drank it for the flavor, because it is unfortunately, the alcohol part is a non-biocompatible energy. Of course, that's why it has liver issues. It slows down that energy field around your liver. But yeah, so it does have an effect on that. So I wouldn't suggest putting it in your alcohol if you're going to, drink that.
Yeah, if you're going to drink alcohol, just have your alcohol and not worry
just
about
have fun. Yeah, put the Shungite in your water. Have your beer.
So that's great. So thank you so much for coming back. I learned so much every time I talk to you, Derek. So it's mysticalwares.net. That is the website everyone wants to go to, correct?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And they can use a coupon code Paranormal Karen, all capital letters.
It can go either way. So it is Paranormal Karen. Will get you, if you type that in as a promo code, either capital or lowercase, either way, no spaces, you'll save 10% off your entire order of anything you buy as well.
Which is wonderful. So, and Derek, I'm going to put up an ad earlier for everybody to watch your classes, but just go also to their Facebook page. He's always posting wonderful things. And thank you so much for coming on again, my friend.
Oh, thanks for having me, Karen. I had a great time. I appreciate it.
Always. And thanks, everybody, for listening. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And we'll see you all next week.